was it like in Vietnam?
Well, and this is hard to say, especially since we're back at war again. War is tragic.
Yes.
War is wrong. But there is a group, and I'm part of it. War is also exciting, and you're living from moment to moment, which makes the adrenaline go. And there is so much of being part of history that I'm more or less like not the enlisted man, but the officers that thrive on that kind of environment and excitement. Of course, I'm considered part of the troop followers. Anyone that supports troops, either in entertainment or supplying merchandise or food, that's called troop followers from, I guess, the gladiator days.
Yes.
But it's very exciting.
It must have been quite an experience.
Quite an experience. I mean, looking back, I could have been killed many times.
Sure.
But crawling on your belly to get to your villa is not the best way to live a life, but I thought I was in a movie and there was just tracers. It didn't dawn on me at 22 that I could be killed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
I figured I would sign up for a year to 18 months. I stayed a year.
Really?
In
that
country.
long? What was it like living there? I mean, where did you stay?
Well, the economy still, even in a war zone economy, life still goes on. There are different sections that are kept as neutral territory. In any war or circumstance, like in Baghdad, is supposed to be a neutral territory. And whenever you hear it on the news, like Saigon was a neutral territory, when there was either a bombing in that neutral territory, then it makes news because you're breaking your truces and your alliances that you would not fight the war in that particular area. And you just hope you were not in that area where they bombed. But I also went up the coast as far as Truman Key, which is one of our main streets that I lived on, and then Qua Viet, which is at the border between North and South Vietnam, and entertained the guys. So,
my gosh.
but they would all be out there surfing. Just like in Apocalypse Now.
Really?
Yeah.
Your parents must have been so worried about you.
Yes, I'd get these nasty little notes that it's time for you to come home, and I was having so much fun playing war that I just didn't want to come back.
So you didn't think about it when you went? You didn't think, you
No,
weren't scared, in other words?
No, I wasn't afraid because by this time I had been working for the military, and they're almost like your big brother. They protect you. And I always knew if I went on the economy, where I lived would be on the economy, I always had a base to go to and find that security. But you don't think that you're going to be bombed.
Yeah, and you're 22. You're very young. And
well,
would you do it now?
There's that craziness in me, yes. I'd like to go over and see what's happening over in the Middle East.
Yeah. And you're supporting the troops. And I don't know if they do that anymore. Do they?
Yes, they do.
They do go and have
Yes,
entertainers and things?
I believe several of the artists of today have gone over there.
Wow.
To entertain.
Even the Dixie Chicks said they would go.
Yeah, and I believe they are going.
Yeah, yeah. They said they would go.
Yeah.
Wow. So after that, now you're 22, and then what happens in the next?
Well, when I came home, the music scene had changed. And you start reevaluating what you're going to do with your nightclub act. Do you improve it? Do you go to Vegas? Where do you go from here? And there were some unfortunate things that happened. My father passed away when I came home. Some major responsibilities I needed to take care of, and of course my young son. And I wound up being a promotion lady in the recording industry.
Wow.
And I worked for Warner Brother Records. And we broke many a record. When we say break, we made it a hit. And that would be from Gordon Lightfoot to Alice Cooper. We did the Doobie Brothers, and Oh, Blue Eyes Are Back. That was another hit we made.
Yeah.
I remember Mr. Sinatra calling one day and saying he wasn't very happy because he didn't hear his records being played on the radio. And I want to tell you, there was panic at Warner Brothers
Oh, I'm
Records.
sure. I'm absolutely sure.
Panic set in. And needless to say, within a week, we had it playing across the country.
Yes, you had to have it played, right?
It was just, it was being played.
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to see some pictures. I know you brought some pictures.
Ah, good.
And I'm sure the audience would love to see them if we can bring them up. Now, there's the original Mouseketeers, right?
Yes, that was the last year, and you'll see our beloved Annette is
Yes.
there, our star. And then, of course, below her is Cheryl, and then there's Karen and Cubby, and Darlene, who was the most talented of all the Mouseketeers. She could do everything, and
Really?
very well. And then there's Bobby and Sharon, and I believe that's Jimmy Dodd.
Yes.
And I don't see Roy. Roy is not, that was the big Mouseketeer.
Oh, I remember, sure.
But he's not in that shot. But yes, that was our last year.
Wow. Although that's the last year then.
That's the last year.
I see. And there,
That was our reunion in 1995 at Disneyland. And of course, there's on Mickey, I guess it would be our right, is Tommy, Cheryl, Karen, myself. On the other side is Lonnie, and then you have Don Grady, who went on to do My Three Sons.
right.
And Bobby, and Sherry, who was on briefly, but she always is a great supporter of the Mouseketeers, and Sharon, and of course Mickey.
Can't do much without Mickey, can you?
Can't do anything without Mickey. That's for sure. It's his show.
It's his
Hi,
show.
boss.
And that,
And that was when we were going to do the sequel to The Wizard of Oz, and this would have been the Rainbow Road to Oz. And Mr. Disney is in the middle, and he was really supportive of all of us playing specific characters. Bobby was the Scarecrow. I played the Patchwork Girl, and Annette was the Princess of Oz. And Darlene was going to, of course, do the Judy Garland role.
yeah.
And we have the first, or rather the television version of Zorro, Guy Williams, standing alongside Mr. Disney. And that
Wow.
was, again, our last year. That
Last year too.
was, yeah, that was about 1958.
1950. Wow.
A long time ago.
Yes.
And
Oh, wow. Now the sex symbol comes.
Yeah, well, as the Mouseketeer says, Doreen always wanted to be a sex symbol. Well, that was my, I guess you would call that the 70s look.
Well, that's definitely a sex symbol.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's a great picture.
I was going with the deputy sheriff. He likes sexy girls. What can I tell you?
No, that's a great picture. I like that.
And then, of course, this is when I was 16 in Australia. We were talking about when I was at Hollywood Professional, and they were trying to again make me the sex symbol of the show.
Uh-huh.
And I went with I was a bad girl. We had an opening act called the Diamonds, and the Diamonds were one of the first white groups that sounded very much like soul people.
Uh-huh.
And they had Little Darlin', The Stroll.
Oh, sure.
Those were big hits. Well,
Yeah.
I was in love with one of his name is David, and he was the lead singer, Dave Somerville. And we carried on in Australia, Something Furious. And when I think about it, he could have been thrown in jail because I was jailbait.
Oh.
And it wasn't his fault.
Did you lie and say you were a different age?
Oh, I wish I could.
Yeah.
I wish I could. No, I was definitely in the category of what the girls are today. I guess it's Britney Spears and
Christina Aguilera.
the whole little rock and roll group. Yeah, well, rock and roll is the same when you're a
You
teenager.
grew up fast.
Have fun.
You always looked to me, even on the show, and I saw you in person at Disneyland, you always were the sparky one.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
you were. I mean, you had the personality and the smile. Yeah, I always remembered that.
Overacting, they call it.
Well, no, it's called it. It's
It?
spark. Yeah.
Well,
Not everyone has that.
it's thank you very much. I like to think of it as that you just enjoy life
Yeah.
so much that
It showed in your eyes. You had bright eyes. I remember everything. I have a great memory.